Welcome. Good morning or afternoon. Incredible agents from across the country. Today is Wednesday, September 5th, 2018, and this is role play call number 34. I don't even have to beg much this week. We have a tremendous turnout. There's probably close to 100 people, if not more, on the call, and we have 4 people in the queue already. The first one is a veteran. I know she knows the way this works. The only request we have on this call, guys, our Thursday call is more of an open forum where it's a discussion, questions, and answers. We want to try to keep this kind of like Jeopardy. It's got to be in the form of a question. We want to try to keep this in the form of a role play. So, you can, if you want to just briefly tell us the issue, that's fine. But then let's do a ring and let our coach handle it and give you some good examples of the best way to handle the things that you're running into. So we have 4 people. First up is Roxanne. Roxanne, you're up first.
Hey, it's Roxanne. I've been getting a lot of, when I make my calls, I've got it all handled already. So.
Okay, great. Want to do that? Call Chad. Let's do that.
I want him to do it I want him to, I want to see how he handles it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Hello?
Hi, I'm trying to reach Roxanne.
This is her.
Hey, Roxanne, my name is Chad. I had sent you a letter last week. I don't know if you saw that, but I had a couple minutes at my desk, and I just wanted to follow up, make sure you got it, and you understood why I sent it out. You recall seeing that?
Yes, I do. But
okay.
I got everything, we've got everything taken off, but thanks for the letter and the pen.
Okay. Well, the reason we try to reach out and follow up with a phone call is we realize a lot of people at this stage of the process you're in don't know what you don't know. And some of our most grateful clients have been the ones that said they didn't need our help. But what they realized is when they got deep enough into the probate process, there was a lot of ways we could help. So do you really feel like you have it all handled, or is there maybe something you haven't? Have you done this before?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Done it before.
Well, we found, just for example, one thing that's usually shocking to most people, they find out that if there's any real estate in the estate, it's actually sitting there uninsured. And the attorneys don't really inform people of this. So one of the first things we do is try to identify, are there assets and are they protected? And once that's, whether you're going to rent it, sell it, keep it in the family, whatever it is, we want to know that you're protected. And that's something that's often overlooked by the attorney. So you can kind of think of our service as the bridge between what the attorney is going to do and what you have to do. And our service exists so we can kind of take a lot of that off of your shoulders, to what the attorney is not going to do, and so you don't have to do it. Our team can handle it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I thought he was going to handle a lot of this, but maybe not.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, I would say 9 out of 10 of our clients think the same thing, and it's not your fault. If you've never done this, you're looking to him for guidance, right? So we consider the attorneys part of our team. They're just another, they handle the legal aspects. We handle, real estate aspects, future planning, even helping survivors find suitable housing, and sometimes that even means getting into a rehab or a long-term care facility. So it really starts with just a simple conversation. We sit down, try to make sure we understand your goals, and then we'll give you suggestions on what we believe is your easiest path. And if you see value in that, then we'll engage and we'll work together. If not, you don't owe me anything. This is something that we provide the service for free up front. And then if we do what we promise and help you, we find ways to obviously make a profit because we are in business. But there's no real obligation other than just speaking with me. Worst case scenario, somebody that does this every day from a non-legal aspect, you can at least see how I do it and hear what I would suggest, and you can go do it on your own if you want. So would Friday at 3 be a good time to have that conversation?
Yeah, I guess so. You talked me into it.
You're so easy, Roxanne.
I am. I'm an easy girl.
No, I'm telling you, that can be a really realistic scenario. Like if people, the reason it's happening, and you've probably heard me say this time and time again, but the reason it's happening is they didn't see any value in the last conversation they had. So they've just automatically slapped that label on you, and they're like, oh, shit, another one? Never mind. We've got it handled. And so I because you have such a calm demeanor, I kind of came down to that level. You've probably heard me do that a lot more aggressively. When people are being aggressive with me, I'll approach it in a different manner. But you were civil and calm, so I stayed that way. But I gave you a shocking point that I used feel, felt, found. So I understand how you feel. Most of our clients have felt that way. But what they found is that when they really understand what we do, they see a lot of value in it. But then I tried to scare the hell out of you by saying, one of the first things we do is make sure that the assets are protected. Well, in your mind, you're thinking, I haven't even thought of that, and the attorney didn't tell me that. So I gained trust because I've showed you that I'm stepping out with value, even though I'm scaring the hell out of you. Your best interest is my priority. So there's different ways you can do that depending on, like I said, I was kind of trying to match your personality because you're being very civil. If people aren't, then I'll ratchet it up. And if they're being really abrasive, I want to be a notch or two above them because, and then I'll start to slowly bring it, after I prove my point, I'll bring it back down to a civil conversation. But,
okay.
So I think it was realistic. You did a good job.
And Roxanne, if Chad, if she was in the process of, if she just cut you off real short, like, my attorney's handling everything, thanks a lot, and you felt like she was going to hang up, you can always kind of blurt out, okay, great, so your attorney's already switched your insurance, or you've already taken care of your insurance. Try to get that out, but you didn't seem like you were ready to hang up on him, so you gave him a little more time. Yeah.
Good point. I mean, that's why I was explaining it that way, because in past calls, you have heard me be really abrupt. And the key here, like for those of you guys, if you are getting the phone just slammed down within seconds, and then don't be afraid to try that. I mean, you're going to get hung up on anyways. So the worst case scenario is you get hung up on. The best case scenario is you might stop them in their tracks and turn it into a real conversation. So I took my time getting to my point because she was giving me that time. If they're not giving you that time, you need to be more abrupt and get it out there. So the key is just to get them to stop for a second. Like if they'll just listen for a few seconds, then you'll have a good conversation.
And that insurance really is a magic bullet because almost nobody, I've never heard of anybody saying, yeah, that was the first thing I did. I realized that it might not be covered. We already switched the insurance. I'm sure it happens, but it's very, very rare. It isn't something that anybody else, including their attorney, has told them. So, it makes you really unique right off the bat. So just kind of keep that as your go-to if you feel like you're getting hung up on.
Yeah, they just they just I got it all handled. Thank you.
Right.
And then I don't know, okay, now what do I do?
So a more something that, and this has probably come up, but if they are quick to hang up, a more gentle approach to it. And I realize we have every personality type on this call. Some people are going to reject my language and be like, that guy's an idiot. But something that may work better for you is, oh, really? That's what my 10 best clients said when they hung up on me the first time. And you can say something like that to show them that, listen, this isn't my first rodeo, and I've helped other people with the same attitude you have. If you just listen, maybe you can find out why they wanted my help. And not that you say that, but that's kind of the tone of the statement is, oh yeah, well that's what my best 5 clients ever said the same thing. That's funny. Would you, and then lead into a conversation, but that might be enough to just stop them in their tracks so they'll actually listen. Because people want to identify with people, right? We want to make decisions. We're tribal. So you can try something like that on for size 2 if you're really short on time. Oh, we've got it handled. It's funny. That's what most people who need our help the most say. What?
Okay.
And then you're in a real conversation.
Okay, love that. All right. I'm glad you're back. Well, at least for the day.
Thank you, Roxanne, as always, for coming on and participating. We appreciate it. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thanks.
All right, go get them. We got 2 more in the queue, guys. We got plenty of room for more. Hit *6 and hit 1, and you will be up next. And then next up is phone number ending in 7428. You're up next.
Oh, hey, it's Dave here in Colorado, and I am checking in with you guys. I am an investor, not an agent. And so I'm really trying to gear this towards, primarily trying to acquire the property, but, always understand that if that's not going to work for them, then I can plug them into my network and help them get it listed if it's just totally retail. But I've had a conversation yesterday, actually a couple of them, with spouses who have already gotten the properties in their name and looking to get rid of them. They've put a little bit of work into them. And so they're a little unrealistic in their price. What needs to be done, they say they understand there needs to be a profit for it to work for us, of course, so they understand that. But really drilling down in a kind of softer way, I guess, to get to a price that's going to really spell it out for them.
Okay. You want to role play that with Chad? Or Chad, do you want to just generically answer it? Go ahead.
Well, let me set the stage. We will do a role play.
Sure.
What I use to avoid this, or to, I guess, to make this a simpler realization for them. If you look in, let's see, I don't think it's in our fast track training. It's most likely in the Facebook group. If you go to All the Leads Mastermind and look under Documents, what you're looking for is a seller net sheet. And I include it in Probate Mastery. We kind of unpack this and talk about it in depth, understand how to use it. I don't include it in Fast Track because it's kind of confusing otherwise if you don't have if it's not in the right context. It's a simple spreadsheet. I run 3 scenarios side by side. And in that scenario, it would be, I would run like a cash, as is, or retail. And when you're sitting down with them, you can help, you can be 100% transparent and show them this net sheet and say, here's the most I think we can get for this home. If we were to do X amount of work, like $50,000 in rehab, we could probably get this price on the open market. If we just throw it on MLS, we can deal with some contingencies and inspections, or we could, deal with the hassles of selling that way and probably get this number. Or I can write you a check and we'll close as soon as title comes back, which is typically 3 to 5 business days. So based on our conversation and what you've told me about your target date and your motivation, I think X is your best option. And then watch it and see if they flinch. And it's negotiation, but you're giving them something in black and white that they can put their eyes on. And what I find is every house I've ever bought, I've told them what I could sell it for or what I intended to sell it for. But whatever was causing that motivation, whatever that pressure was so great that even though they could see it right there in black and white, they understood that they didn't have the time or they didn't have the money, one or the other, to get those other 2 prices. So they self-selected down into that one price. And at that point, it was their decision, not mine. And it's been one of the best tools I've ever. I sat down one day after an appointment, and I'm like, how the hell could I do that? How could I have been clearer? And I just made that little spreadsheet, and it didn't take 5 minutes. But then I started using it. It goes on every appointment. I probably use it in 1 in 25 or 1 in 30 appointments that I'll actually need to use the sheet, because usually they build such trust in you. You say, based on everything we've talked about, I think selling in X amount of time for X amount of dollars is your best choice. Would you agree? And they'll say, then they're like, yep, that's good. Let's go. But if they're hanging up like that, if they're unrealistic on price, I'll use that net sheet. Now, the way I fill out the net sheet, I use a market absorption analysis because nobody else does. And I kind of took it from the commercial real estate world. So a market absorption analysis, I go back 24 months and pull statistical data based on, similar homes. And then I'll do a 12-month analysis and a 12 to 24-month analysis, and then blend them together into a market absorption analysis. So that kind of shows not only what sold, but what didn't sell, the expireds, what's currently active and pending, like what we're competing with, and kind of gives you a 360-degree view. The other thing that it does, quite frankly, is it confuses the hell out of people. And it shows that I know what I'm talking about. Like, if I can go over your head in the first 2 or 3 seconds, then who's the expert? Like who should be choosing the price of this asset? Like who understands the market better? And that's not, I'm never going to say that to somebody, but they get that. They understand that. They're like, okay, this guy knows what the hell he's doing. So I'll use the market absorption analysis to get to my figure, my price, and then I'll use the net sheet, because the net sheet's very simple and not confusing. If they're still challenging you, then you can jump over the market absorption analysis and get them in the weeds real quick. And then they'll realize, okay, he did his research. These are real numbers. So if you want to, it might be difficult to role play not knowing the documents, but we can jump into a role play if you'd like.
Sure, and I am actually working a couple remote markets, so I would have to do it kind of over the phone, if not, some sort of kind of webinar.
All right. Well, fair enough. So give me, so this can be a little bit more realistic. Give me a scenario from your last conversation, or from the one that you were referencing.
Sure.
Give me some details. What's the value of the home? What's their motivation? What's causing it? Like, instead of doing a 40-minute role play, let's cheat. Give me some bullet points here so I know the deal. So
he thinks it's worth $225. From what I can see, it's worth $200. He thinks it only needs about $5 or $10 grand worth of work to finish it. It's probably going to take at least 15 to 20. And his wife died. He kind of blames the house situation for it because they had a storm damage. They had to move. The insurance company, blah, blah, blah. She wound up passing away, and he's been trying to put it together, and is basically wants to wash his hands of it, walk away. But he says, yeah, you can have it for 180, and you'll make 50 grand on it. There's plenty of profit in there.
He doesn't want the house. He did get insurance money, and he just pocketed that.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
And he says he's got a roof lien on it and like $100K on the mortgage and $35K in fix-up repair, which...
Okay, so we're going to do this at the house. This is not a phone call. This is an appointment role play, because I never discuss price on the phone unless it's the appointment. Like if you're doing a virtual appointment where you have to make a decision, then I'll do it. But actually, you wanted to do it virtually, so
I'm in Colorado. They're in Florida.
Okay, so let's make it as hard as possible. It'll be a virtual appointment based on the scenario you just gave me. So this is not the initial phone call, because you've already gathered the information, you've already done your research. Now we're trying to buy this house, or we're trying to help this person, and the ideal outcome for us is to buy the house. So, and ring.
Hello.
Hey Dave, it's Chad Corbett. How are you?
Hey Chad, great. Thanks for calling back.
Yeah, is this time still good for you?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Hey, I didn't ask when we last spoke. Do you happen to be in front of a computer?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And just go to join.me/Chad, and just like magic, you'll see my screen. Let me know when you see that.
All right. Okay.
Who's the
All right,
trainer?
you got me?
They're role playing.
It's really realistic. We've got background noise there.
I know.
It must be his wife in the background there making dinner.
Dave,
or something.
he hired a prop. Need to get some extras on my end. All right, so you see my screen, Dave? We're on the same page.
I don't actually, but I can play along.
Okay. So what you're looking at here, I just wanted to make sure we're kind of on the same page. There's a few things we'll look at as we talk, but I did a couple of hours really of research when you and I last talked, and I pulled 2 years worth of data. Basically, I took Homes 200 square feet larger or smaller, 10 years younger or older. I went out a half a mile, and then I that matched the style. So we should be comparing apples to apples. And I went back 2 years. What I look at is the expired listings, the active and pending inventory, what we're competing with, and as well as what sold. Typically, an appraiser is just going to look at what sold, or most agents. You've probably heard of a CMA. This is a little more in depth because there's a potential that I'm buying this home, so I want to make sure I'm using real numbers in today's market, and the market can change even weekly, especially in this market. So anyways, that's kind of what I did with my homework. I did have a few questions that I should have asked better questions when we talked the first time. So when you had when you guys had to move out and the insurance company stepped in, did you guys get an insurance check, and have you put any of that money back into the repairs?
Yeah, we actually had to hire an attorney and litigate, and I think we finally got something that went to the contractor.
Okay, so the litigation is closed. Like, that case is closed?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And then has the contractor done the work and been paid for it?
He's just got the garage door left in order to get the CO. And
okay. And do you know if did he file a mechanics lien on the property?
No, but the roofer did, and that's about $17K. So we gotta get that.
Now, regardless of how you sell this, is your intent to pay that $17 at closing from the proceeds?
Yeah, I figure that's got to, since there's a lien, we got to pay that off at closing for you to get clear title, right? Yeah. But
some people, we've bought homes before where people thought I was going to pay the $17,000 and I thought you were going to pay it, and I just want to be clear, on what I want us both to be clear on what we're doing here, right?
Sure.
Well, so if you look, there's three different scenarios here, and based on everything you've told me, I think I know which one you want. But I did want to show you this. So if you look at my screen right now, you see I've got a cash, an as is, and a retail. You see that?
Yeah.
So, and if you scroll all the way down, I didn't know about the roof lien, so it's not going to account for that. But you can see what I did know. Like, that's basically your net figure, what you'll walk away with. Now, all the way on the right, the retail scenario, that's what it looks like if you take, I've estimated the construction to be about $25,000. I know that you might not agree with that. You thought it was lower, but when I had my guys over there, they found about $25,000 in work. So that's the number I'm using here. So in order to get that, in order to sell the home for $250,000, we would need to put at least $25,000 worth of work into it, and it would probably be a 70 to 90 day cycle before we could get it on the market. If you were just put it on MLS and hope for the best, and probably, we'd try to be finding probably a landlord that could finish it out on their own at a lower price. We could expect to see this number in the middle, probably somewhere around 200. As far as just stepping away from this and not having to do any work or think about it outside of 3 to 5 business days, this number that's the cash number. That's what it takes for someone, me or anyone else, to buy your risk. So if I'm going to step in with cash and close as soon as title work comes back and, make sure the liens are cleared and stuff, this would be the number. Now, this is, by this time next week, we're closed and the money's in the bank. The as-is scenario is probably realistically a 30 to 60 day price or scenario. And then the retail scenario is probably anywhere from a 70 to a 90, maybe even 120 day scenario. So based on everything we've talked about and where your situation, which of these do you feel like is your best option?
Yeah, my forbearance just ended at the end of August or July, and so I'm a payment behind.
Okay.
So I think, yeah.
So the cash scenario is really your only option, right?
Right.
Okay. And are you comfortable with that number?
Yeah, I'd like to get more. I mean, it looks like you guys have lots of profit in there, and just like to walk away a little bit more than what
Well,
you've
you
done
can
on
see
my.
on the right-hand side. I mean, I ran this scenario for me as much as I did you, to be honest. So on the right-hand side is what I'm going to do with it. But I'm going to be taking $200,000 cash out of play and putting it at risk. And I haven't even gotten into the home yet. And I think you've realized, I mean, you know what you went through with the litigation and with insurance and like with repairs and the roof. It sounds like you've already felt some of the pain that we deal with every day. I mean, someone still has to put the time and risk in to get it to that number. So yes, that's the exact scenario I expect. If you sell the house to me cash, that's hopefully what I'll end up with. If you would rather me do that for you, then I'll put my team on it and we'll get you that number. But you're gonna have to keep the loan current, and you're gonna have to come up with construction money, and we'll put the right crews in there so you don't have to deal with all the headaches. But you're gonna have to take some risk in order to get to that figure. And it's based on what we've talked about so far, I just didn't think that you were willing to do that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think I need to get this off my plate. So
Okay. So, like I said, our title company, like we run a lot of deals through the same office, so we can usually get a title binder within 3 to 5 business days. So if we could close and shake hands in 5 days, would that number be good enough for you?
well, I did. My brother-in-law, I did talk to him last week about maybe listing it. He's an agent.
Okay.
And I know your scenario there. And he thought we could
Well,
sell it for 180 pretty quick, or 190.
Yeah, well, like I said, in the as-is scenario, I think probably 200 is what we could get. And quite frankly, I believe that person would be overpaying, but that's, our goal is to bring you the best solution. So if you want out next week, we can buy it cash. If you're willing to wait a bit and get to 200, we might need to spend a little bit of money to do some, just freshen the landscaping and get the house cleaned out. But I think we can probably find a landlord that would be willing to pay that and finish the work on their own. So their construction costs are going to be lower because they have their own crews. But I think that's our most likely buyer, would be an as-is, where-is, no inspections, no contingencies. It would be similar to a cash deal, only we're going to sell it for more money. You're just going to have to wait a little bit longer. It's going to take us some time to find the right guy. So you think that's the route you want to take versus just getting it off your hands?
Yeah, I don't know. He's not really a full-time realtor, and I don't have the money to make those monthly payments or kick in anything in the meantime. So let's do the cash offer.
All right. It's in your inbox. I actually sent it. I sent it before we got on the phone. I knew what you were going to say.
From an independent person, just kind of watching this from a distance, I thought it was funny in the beginning there. You were so good, Chad. He actually thought you were sending him something on the computer. I think he was looking for it. But I felt like he wanted to fight a little bit, but you really kind of made it obvious that there wasn't any point, right? I mean, there just wasn't any point in arguing with you. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you that's how I've bought every house. And I've bought stuff at like 30 cents on the dollar, and I showed them exactly what I was going to sell it for. And every house I've ever bought was very similar to that conversation.
And do you ever swap out a subject to scenario if those numbers kind of look?
Yeah, actually, the first house I ever bought was a sub 2. It was, and I ended up flipping it for $26,000 in I think 4 days. But I bought that house sub 2 that way. But I showed her. I put all my real estate. I was a licensee. I had gotten my license by then in Virginia. And I said, here's what I can do if you let me list it. Here's what we can do if you let me list it and do some work to it. And here's what we can do if you want rid of it today. and she sold it sub 2. I turned around, talked to a couple of investors. I was only in the game maybe 60 days at that point, and that was my first wholesale, was a sub 2 flip.
Great.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can take that conversation from what's the best strategy. I was just trying to keep it simple as just a cash strategy.
Yeah. Sure.
We had a lady on our mastermind call last week. I wasn't on the call, but I transcribed it yesterday, and she actually took one. I think would she make, Jim, 21,000?
Yeah, I think it was 21, 23, something like that. Yeah.
So they had a loan on it. They had equity, but they had the loan. They just didn't want to deal with it. So she just took it sub 2 and flipped it for 21 grand like the next day. So you can absolutely do that with these.
And you know when the market was good, I was buying and flipping 4 or 5 a month, and I used to do something very similar. What's so refreshing about that approach is very few, if any, other investors are going to be honest with them about what the house is really worth. So, it's such a unique approach that whether they choose you or not, whether they, if they don't choose to sell to you, they're probably going to take your recommendation for a realtor. And if it doesn't sell right away, you may get that deal back in a couple months. But it's just a unique approach for an investor to honestly be honest with people and put all the figures out there on the table and tell them what it's actually worth. I mean, most of them are trying to mislead the seller into thinking that the house is worth a lot less than it is. So,
Right.
more often than not, they think they appreciate and they'll trust you for that approach. And like Chad said, the ones that you're going to buy, they're not going to really have much of an alternative. They're armed with the facts. They're probably still going to sell it to you a good percentage of the time. And if they don't, you certainly will have a good referral, and you'll made a friend there that who knows what the future will bring. Maybe some business for you down the line.
Sure. I'd love to get. I'm not sure that the seller interview sheet from the mastermind page is the right spreadsheet. Seller net sheet, right, is what.
I'll put when I post the recap in our Facebook group today. I'll link to the seller net sheet under this bullet point.
Great. Yeah.
One other thing, you're in Colorado, and you've probably heard this. In Colorado, call your older leads because they are golden there. We've had so many agents have huge success with 6, 9, 12-month-old leads. For some reason, the leads season extremely well in Colorado. Nobody else is calling them, and you got much less competition. Yeah. Don't ignore the new ones, but go back periodically and call those old ones too.
Okay.
All right, sir. Anything else?
As an investor, just a little side note. What's the best way to refer those out and also be able to maybe get a marketing fee or something with a good agent? I know there's kind of a gray area there that sometimes, but as an investor unlicensed, to monetize those types of leads, is there a good strategy there?
Well, you definitely need to have a good agent on your team, and one that understands, they need to understand your business model, and what a deal looks like to you. So if you're feeding them referrals, they can help, they can pay for your marketing, so they can pay for your mail. You guys can co-market together, or they can just reciprocate with deals back to you. So, they need to be bringing you flip potentials and long-term buy and hold potentials. When the second they see a deal, you should be the first phone call. That's one way of doing it. Or you can say, hey, listen, I'll throw you all the referrals off this if you pay for my mail, or if you put your credit card on file for the leads, and just have them participate in your marketing instead of pay you a commission. Now, if you're, if you feel it's inequitable and they're making a ton of, if they're paying $300 for mail and making $5,000 a month in commissions, hopefully by that point you've built a relationship where you guys can work something out. The other thing you can do is just simply go take your real estate test, get your license, and hang it as a referral only with an independent brokerage. So I would, and some people might hate me for this, but I would steer clear of the franchise brokerages. I would find a small independent broker that is not going to have a lot of, they're going to be more flexible in their business model.
Sure.
And typically they'll let you throw your license on the wall and take a referral fee for a $25. Like my broker, if I go to referral only, I think I pay her $25 out of each commission. And it doesn't matter if it's one of the commissions was a $31 million resort in Tennessee, and it ended up unraveling at the closing table. But I was going to get a $720-some thousand commission, and I'm like, "Are you kidding? I'll owe you $25." She's like, and the deal unraveled. But so find a broker like that, like get your license, get it on the wall, and then you can take a 25%. I mean, at that point, like if you've already queued it up as an appointment, it's a done listing. It's not unrealistic to take a 50% referral fee because you did the marketing, you did the work, and all they have to do is go do what they do best. So if you have a good relationship with another agent and you have a referral license on the wall, you can legally accept commissions, and you can make 50% of the commission on those. I guarantee you, if you do go get your license, you'll pay for it in the first 3 months if you're doing deals. Regardless of, whether you list it or just take referrals, you got, because you don't have to pay national or local dues. You don't have to pay MLS fees if you're referral only. Now, if you're a full-blown realtor, then you do have to pay those fees. It's going to run you $1,500 to $2,000 a year, probably with E&O and everything. But the referral license will just cost you whatever the school and the test cost. So that would be my advice.
All right. We got 2 more in the queue. Does that help?
Great. That helps. Thank you.
All right. Go get them. Thank you. Next up is phone number ending in 7671. You're up next.
Hi, this is Barbara from Central Florida. I just started. I'm sorry?
I said, hey, Barbara.
Hey. I just started making my calls, and I ran into 2 situations, and I wanted to know what's the best way to handle a PR that is a bank and a PR that is an attorney.
Okay, excellent.
So it's difficult to role play. The PR that's a bank, typically what that is, a family member the deceased either didn't want to put their family member through the probate process and all that responsibility on top of the grief, or they just didn't trust them. And they trusted their personal banker more than they trusted their family members. That might be the more common scenario. But I have yet to get one on the phone. I've always mailed and I've called, and I've yet to have a conversation with a personal banker about someone's estate. I still tell everybody to do it because a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, right? You might as well try. But I don't really know how that conversation goes because I haven't had the opportunity to have it. I know what I would say if you want to do that. When the attorney is a personal representative, typically that is a fiduciary or a public administrator. And that is usually one of 2 scenarios. Either there's infighting in the family and the judge stepped in and said, this ends now, this is your public administrator, or just nobody stepped forward from the family to probate the estate, so they appointed a public administrator to make sure it gets administered. That conversation is more common. We have people all over the country that are doing multiple deals each month from fiduciaries and public administrators.
We got our friend in California that did $3 million in $750,000 in commissions last year with a half a dozen of those public administrators. You want to role play that first, Chad? Just kind of go through that scenario?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead. Caller, please.
You're going to be the public administrator. So ring.
Hello.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Barbara.
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 Hi, I'm trying to reach Barbara Jones.
Yes, this is she.
Hey, Barbara. My name's Chad Corbett, and I'm calling because I noticed you were a public administrator in Orange County. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Well, specifically this month, I've seen your name a couple of times, and I really just wanted to introduce myself. I noticed on the Jane Doe case, docket number 3457, you were assigned that one this month. The reason I know that is because we built a team of people here locally to help families that are going through probate. But what we found out is it's even more helpful to public administrators. A lot of the public administrators we've met are shocked to know that we can do everything we do. And because you don't have a whole lot of help on this, we step in and fill the void of where the family members normally would be. We can do all that for you. So whether it's contractors, roofers, plumbers, senior moving companies, social workers, I mean, you name it. We've got about every scenario that an estate could ever need. We have a team member here locally that's been vetted and has experience with that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So anyways, I just wanted to call today, I mean, to see if you had anything that you needed help with right now, but more so to just kind of introduce myself and let you know that we do have a team here in the community that has really been designed to perfectly complement what you're doing. Does that seem valuable to you?
Possibly.
Okay. You like coffee?
Do I like coffee? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love coffee.
All right. Well, how about we grab a coffee tomorrow and just take 15 minutes, and I'll kind of show you more what I'm talking about, what some of the families we've helped, and that way you'll know when you can use us. Would that work? How about 11 o'clock at the Starbucks at the corner of Orange and 5th?
Let me check my schedule.
That's pretty close to your office, right? I picked that one because it looks like it's maybe 2-3 blocks from you.
Yeah, that will work.
All right. Well, I'll be the ugliest guy in the room. I'm 6'7", and I haven't had hair since I was 15. So you'll know me when you see me.
Okay. I have a question though.
Yep.
We're done with the call. I have a question. What if the PR is not a public administrator? It's just one of the attorneys that handles the other probates. Or could that be?
I would approach it the same way. Like I wouldn't change much. So to me, if it's an attorney or a public administrator or both, what I want to take the opportunity, whether I get the deal that I got their name from, whether I get that listing or not, what I'm more interested in is the 150 deals they're going to send me over the next 10 years. So I just want them to understand my business model so I can get in front of them and show them all the ways that we can basically do what they're expected to do, but they're not willing to do. And we'll step in and do that. So if I can get a 15-minute coffee appointment with that person, I'll have a lifelong relationship because my business model perfectly complements theirs. And as soon as they understand that, I'm going to be their go-to. And I've seen it over and over and over in rural communities, big cities. The people who actually connect with these attorneys and fiduciaries, they latch on to you because no real estate agent, no real estate professional has ever really done it, that has approached them with a service at that level. So they're damn impressed when they understand what you do for their clients. Because the reality is they're going to handle 20 to 25% of the overall workload, the legal aspect. 75% falls on the shoulders of the family members. Well, if the family's fighting or there is no family, then that becomes their work as well. So your team can take away that 75% so they can just do the 25% that they get paid for.
And Chad,
Okay.
you've remarked numerous times too that it's so much easier to deal with them because they're not emotionally involved. There's no infighting with relatives. It's a business transaction for them. If you show them how you can make their business easier and more efficient and more profitable, it's really an easier sale than the executor more often than not. I interrupted you, Barbara. Go ahead.
Do you recommend to call or just go to their office? What do you think would be better?
A public administrator?
No, for a regular attorney.
Oh, I recommend just going to the office. It can work on the phones, but we've had far more success just showing up midweek, midday, and you're not going to get them all. Attorneys are very busy people, and they're not always going to be in their office. But your best shot is midweek, mid-afternoon, and if you go to 10, you should at least meet with 3. But the reality here is, there's probably not more than 50 attorneys that focus on this in any given market. So even if you meet 3 this week and you miss 7, there's always next week. You can meet 3 more next week and 3 more the next week. So if you're diligent about this, in a matter of 6 to 8 months, you can know every damn attorney in town that's doing multiple deals, and they can feed you the rest of your career. And a lot of people get discouraged. They're like, well, I got in the car and I went to 5 offices and talked to 1 person. I'm like, that's 20% conversion. What's the problem? Like, you've got one attorney can give you. I mean, we had a gentleman in San Diego on accident at a dinner party. He impressed a probate attorney. The guy fed him 100 transactions over 10 years, and he didn't even ask. Like, he was doing a good job and he was earning the next referral, but he wasn't looking at it as a referral system, and he wasn't thinking about it like, wow, I should go meet 5 more people like this. But with just one relationship, he got 100 closed transactions at a median price of like $480. So he made a boatload of money off that one dinner party. So even if you just get 1 in 10, go get that 1 in 10, because they can be extremely valuable relationships over your career.
And Barbara, we were saying how it's interesting doing this 5 years. Things seem to run in streaks. In the last 2 mastermind calls, I don't know if you've been on them, but both of the last calls, we've had people that have had extraordinary success with attorneys. So feel free to pick their brains. If you've got their name, go onto Facebook. I mean, most of their stories are highlighted there, or listen in on the call. We've got a Trifold brochure on our website that you can download and print. A few months ago, we had one of our clients that printed a stack of those up and left them with the receptionist, and she was amazed. 2 weeks later, she got a call, can you bring some more? We've given them all away. So, you never know what's going to work, but if you can show up with something in your hand, as a leave behind, that kind of shows them your value, the face-to-face is great. If you don't, at least put something in their hands that's going to spur them to call you back when they do have a need for your service. Make sense?
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah, yes, I did make up the brochures. I just got them. So,
oh, great.
Yeah, I will be using that.
All right, excellent. Anything else we can help you with?
No, that's it for today.
All right, well, the queue is empty, guys. Last call. If anybody else has anything they would like to role play this week, just hit *6 and hit 1 now. Oh, we got one. All right. Oh, we got 2 more. All right, that'll be it then. We're going to try to get out of here right at the hour in 10 minutes. So next up is our old friend Belinda, phone number ending in 1189.
Yeah,
You're up, Belinda.
Right.
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
Yeah, so this is a very basic question. Most of the contacts that I have called, they indicate, okay, we haven't talked to family members yet, we haven't discussed it yet, and they're receptive to me calling back, months and months, numerous times over a course of months. But I don't know what to say to get these people to a position where, you actually can do a transaction, get in front of them, let them know what their options are, that sort of thing. They seem to really be stuck at, they haven't discussed anything, or they don't seem very motivated to do
Sounds like probate quicksand.
Right.
I don't know if they're overwhelmed at that point or what, but they don't seem very, very motivated. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, what do you say to these people if you're contacting them over a period of several months? I continue the conversation, but, just feel a little awkward calling, asking about, basically, are they ready to sell yet? Basically, have they discussed it? Basically, are they ready to do anything? Without saying it to them like that.
So this
Want to role play that?
This is some
Yeah.
tough love, Belinda, but it's not their
Let's
fault. It's yours.
Let me say again.
And
I can't hear you.
I said this is kind of tough love, but it's not their fault. It's yours.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
So
I can feel it. I can feel it. But I just don't know
right.
what to do though.
So probate quicksand, I made it up because it seemed like a fitting analogy. The longer you let them sit there and squirm, the deeper and deeper they get, right? So that was a realization I had in the first 5 or 10 appointments. Everybody was procrastinating because they were uncomfortable. Not only were they grief stricken from someone passing, they didn't know a contractor. They didn't know how to get a house cleaned out. They didn't know how to do this stuff. So they made up bullshit excuses, and I let them. And then I had that conversation with myself. I'm like, it's your damn fault that you're not helping them, not theirs. Like they were giving you false objections because they're uncomfortable. And if you were a real leader, you'd step up and handle those objections and move forward. And so I did. And what I found is, like you might have heard the story because you've been through mastery, but there was a lady named Drew, 52 years old. Her husband died. Literally, she didn't move his bedroom slippers. In 24 months, his guitar was by his chair and his bedroom slippers were in front of it. She had done nothing. And she and I had a very candid conversation. I pulled her out of the probate quicksand. In 4 days, a 2,800 square foot house was completely empty, and she did it single-handedly. Because it was once she admitted to herself that she knew what needed to be done, she just hadn't done it. And once she knew that I had her back and she heard the reasons that she should do it, I mean, this woman came to life. And she had 3 young grandkids in North Carolina that she was dying to get to, but the house had become a thorn in her side, but she couldn't get over that barrier. So you just got to like grab them by the hand, pull them out of the probate quicksand and move forward. And we can role play it. I'll show you, I'll give you some of the way, we'll go through a scenario. So usually that comes out like, and in the interest of time here, I'm going to skip the whole intro. So normally I would do the probate USP and introduce myself and all that. Usually where this objection will come out is when I ask, because I ask for the appointment early. I set appointments before I ever talk about real estate because I want to show them that I'm more interested in helping. I've got a comprehensive solution, so I'm not just trying to set it. I'm setting an appointment, then we're going to get to the real estate. So usually where this objection comes out for me is when I go to set the appointment. So Belinda, I've got time on Friday at 3. I think if we could just sit down for a half hour, you'd get a lot. You could get you'd be really clear on what your options are. Does that time work for you?
Well, I'm really just, I have to talk to family members. They have things they want to get out, and they're not really coming through for me. But I need to sit down and talk with them first before.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because we try to make sure that everybody's included in the conversation that you feel should be. So I've got one spot on my calendar for Friday at 3. I'll go ahead and mark that in tentatively. Do you think you could talk to the family between now and Thursday night to know if they can make it?
I don't know. I mean, we're just not ready at this particular time to go through it and deal with it right now. We just have so many other things going on, and it's a little bit of infighting and stuff like that. So it's just I got a lot on my plate right now.
I get it. That's why I do what I do. I mean, the only reason a business like mine can exist is the problems that you're feeling right now. So we can either deal with it. I can start to deal with it now, or you can deal with it yourself slowly over time and let this draw out. But what I find with most clients that when the conversation starts like this, when they meet with us, they realize just how much we can actually do. So you guys don't have to fight. You don't have to come together and find a time where everybody can be at the house. All I ask is that one time we can get in the same room or on the same conference line and have the conversation. And then if you guys see value and you believe that I can do what I say I can do, then I'll go do it, and I don't get paid unless I do. If you would rather just sit around and do what you've been doing, which I kind of doubt that's the case, then I can come back to my office and I'll help another family and you guys can continue doing what you're doing. But I don't think it's serving you. Do you?
Not necessarily, but we just haven't made a decision. We just haven't thought about it or talked about it.
I get that.
Yet.
And I'm not trying to force you to make decisions. I am trying to force you to know your
She's
options.
breaking up. Can you hear her, Chet?
Yeah.
Hello? Were you saying
So,
something?
So what I was saying, Belinda, I'm not trying to force anyone to make decisions. I am trying to force you to understand what your options are.
Okay.
So can you talk to the family before Thursday night and let me know if Friday at 3 will work?
I probably can do that. Do that. Yeah.
Well, if I don't hear from you, I'll be there. I'll be at the house on Friday at 3. If something needs to be, if we need to move it, we can. If somebody can't make it, we can still put them on a conference line. It's just important more for you than me, but it's important that everybody be part of the conversation. And maybe we decide that, hey, we're not going to do anything for 3 to 6 months. That's fine. But I at least know I've done what I can to help you guys, and you understand your options right now, because 75% of the responsibility here is on your shoulders, and our service can pretty much knock out the vast majority of that responsibility just short of what you need to do with the attorney and the court. We can handle just about everything else if you want us to. Most families end up doing a lot of it on their own because they know that we've got their back in case they need help. But we'll talk more about that on Friday. Have you got just a couple more minutes? I can ask you a few details about the property before we go.
Yeah, I can do that.
Now I'm going to talk about real estate for the first time. So
okay.
I'm going to learn about the property details, the condition, the finances, yada yada yada, so I can do my homework and come to the appointment with real options. Because if I show up for that appointment and I haven't gotten enough information to provide real options, then there's nothing actionable for them to do. It's just it's a waste of everybody's time. But if I keep you on the phone for another 10 minutes and I find out what's your motivation, what do you, because when you say you don't know what you're going to do, that's bullshit, and we all know it. You know what you want to do. What's probably happening is somebody else thinks they have a different idea of what they want to do. So I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes or so flushing that out and really getting the real story once you trust me. And then when I get to the appointment, then we're going to have the real conversation, including everybody, and each person will be given an opportunity to have a voice. But the key here is push for the tentative appointment. I would say 9 and 10 of these appointments in the beginning are tentative, and I set it up exactly like I just did. I have one spot. I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. It's your burden to cancel. Otherwise, I will be there. And by the time we spend another 10 minutes on the phone, you'll realize my intentions are good, and you will not cancel that appointment. If you have to call and drag your sister's ass over there, she's going to be there on Friday at 3 because you're going to respect me. And that's how almost all of my appointments were set. We're tentative, and then you work that into a solid appointment over the rest of the conversation.
You know, the golden line I heard was, I promise I'm not going to force you to decide anything, but I am going to force you to understand all your options. How does that sound? That's a great line. Great line. How can somebody be upset about being forced to understand their options?
Okay.
Make sense?
I mean, it makes sense, to me, but, yeah, it makes sense to me. And it just goes back to, originally how Chad had said there is no script for these targets, because you just don't know what you're going to come up against. Each situation is a little different,
Absolutely.
And, for me personally, I just don't want to I don't want to feel like I'm pushing and forcing someone to try to make a decision on the phone, and they're saying they need to talk with family, this and that. And to me, it just, I don't know, I can open it up and say, well, we can all talk at the same time. I can give everybody options, but sometimes people just want to do what they're going to do within the family first and then come out. But, again, each situation is different. So,
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Belinda. We have two more in the queue, guys. I'm gonna cut it off after the last two. Go ahead, Chet. Sorry.
One thing I'll close the loop on this. Belinda, pay attention, and you might want to come back and listen to this again. But one of the things I said is, you have the option of doing nothing, what you've been doing,
right.
and that hasn't been serving you. So
Right.
if you let them, they'll continue to do nothing until the right person comes by with the right leadership skills, and they will
Okay.
list or buy that house. And I
Okay.
have dozens upon dozens upon dozens of near miss stories like that, not from my business, but from our customers, where they're like, oh, I don't know, it was going so good, and they loved me, and I told them I'd call back in 2 weeks, and it's already on MLS pending. Well,
Yeah.
surprise, someone else was a better salesperson. Go find the next one. So if you let them sit in the quicksand, they're either going to sink deeper or someone else is going to come by and pull them out. So you just have to make that choice.
Okay.
All right. Thanks as always, Belinda. We have 2 more in the queue, guys, and we're gonna cut it off there. We're gonna run a little bit overtime today. We don't leave anybody's issues unresolved. Next up is phone number ending in 5051. You're up next.
Hi, this is Gloria Holt. I'm in California.
Hey,
I'll
Gloria.
make it a little quick because I have to go too.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, one quick question is on the Trifold. Where do I find it?
So if you go to, and you're a subscriber, correct?
Yes.
So if you go to in the top menu, go to Mailbox Motivator, Campaign Setup. Scroll all the way to the bottom right. You'll see 3 or 4 samples. That's the tip of the iceberg. Like that'll give you an idea of what they look like. But if you email support at all the leads, and say something in the subject line about Trifold brochures, then Alyssa will call you, and she can give you more proofs and walk you through and make sure you got the exact piece you want.
Okay, super. Yeah, I've got
we
one
do a
I
lot of
created, but
customization on those.
yeah, I've got one I created, but I wanted to compare and maybe improve on mine. Anyway, my question is very, very quick. I think I get a lot of these. Oh, we already have an agent. I mean, the minute that they know that I am a realtor. So how do we deal with that?
Well, the first question, so in what context, where is it coming out? Are you opening the door as an agent?
Right. When they answer the phone, I do identify myself, Gloria Holt with Remax Estate Properties, and I'm calling with reference to, if you got my correspondence, I start in that way.
Let's change that, and even if it's just between now and next week, change it. And stop identifying as a realtor. Be Gloria.
Okay.
So, hi, this is Gloria, and no brokerage name, no licensee status, anything, and see if you get a different response. If you get to the real estate part of the conversation, then and they say, oh well, we've got an agent, we've had one for years. Okay, great. Have you signed the listing appointment with them? Or, have you signed the listing agreement with them? If the answer will almost always be no, because they would have said the house is listed otherwise.
Right.
So it's a rhetorical question, but if they say, well, no, okay, well, great. Well, listen, I encourage all my clients to meet with as many professionals as they can, because it's best to know your options. I mean, that's really what we're in the business of, is making sure you know all your options and you can choose the one that's right for you. So I've got a spot on Friday at 3. Do you think you could meet with that agent before then? So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to force them to meet with that agent or tell me the truth. And the role play that we did 2 or 3 callers ago, someone said, oh, well, he's not even a full-time agent. And what that was very realistic. A lot of times people will say that, well, we've had the same realtor for 30 years, or, well, my niece had her license and she really is struggling. But where the rubber meets the road, when it comes down to you forcing them to meet with them, they really don't want to, because they know they're not qualified. And you don't ever have to say that. You lead them into that, and then they'll say, well, okay, well, I guess we can meet. And then once you show up and they realize that your service is much bigger than just selling a house, like that you can help them with everything, that other agent doesn't stand a fighting chance.
Good. Yeah, that sounds great. I like that.
All right, appreciate it. Last. All right, go get your appointment. Last up today is Sheila. You came back. I think it's Sheila. Phone number ending in 4701.
Yeah, how's it going? I'm Sheila I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. And I didn't know if tagging on to that last conversation, letting the people know that, you specialize in probate. Would that be something to add to that? I mean, because they're a different breed of a transaction, same as like a short sale. Not everybody handles them. And so,
sure, there's a much more thorough response to that. We weren't in a full role play. In Probate Mastery, a lot of the objections we've talked about today, we do cover in Mastery, and we spend 10, 15 minutes on each objection and kind of pull it apart layer by layer. But yes, you're right. So I encourage them to meet with their real estate agent, and then I tell them why. Because once what you're probably going to find, most people have the misconception that selling real estate is just marketing. But anyone can market. It's 2018. In 5 minutes, I can show you how to have your house listed on 150 different websites with professional photography. So if real estate was just about marketing, we would all be out of jobs. You would be doing it yourself, right? But so I encourage you to look at the bigger picture. We have a team of people here locally that have been vetted and have experience doing this every day. And beyond just the simple task of marketing real estate, I mean, we can help you get the home cleaned out, get the home fixed up, get it done for the best price in the shortest amount of time, even down to helping family members find suitable housing and making sure we're not going to tell you what to do with your inheritance, but I am going to tell you that you should sit down with a registered investment advisor and know your options. So I've yet to meet a real estate agent in this market, or frankly any other, that really handles, that offers a probate specific service at the level we do. So I encourage you to meet with, if you have the time to meet with a dozen agents, I would love for you to, because when we meet on Friday at 3, you're going to realize how different our business model is and how beneficial that can be. So do you think you can meet with them before Friday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, and my question had nothing to do with what she asked. My question, and hopefully it's applicable, but I'm in a 2-state region, so I'm in Kansas and Missouri. State line runs right in the middle of Kansas City, and I don't know they have different laws. One's a redemption, one's not a redemption state. Does that play into these types of deals at all? I know they were big in short sales, but I'm curious if it plays any role in dealing with probate.
By redemption, you're talking about tax liens.
Well, actually, redemption, probably, I guess, it wouldn't because of the beneficiary. It's more of
typically, I don't know, I'm not familiar with either of those states, but when redemption is usually, typically what people are talking about there is back taxes. So you either get it's either a tax lien or a tax deed, and then you have redemption or non-redemption. So it shouldn't, there are certainly going to be scenarios where there are probate houses, properties in probate that have back taxes. And somebody might be holding the lien or the deed, but they're going to be paid off at closing, so it's really a moot point. Whether it's, they'll be paid for their if they're holding a tax lien or a tax deed, they'll be paid whenever it's settled.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
All right, awesome, Sheila. Thank you. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, awesome call, guys. We ran 10 minutes over. Thank you, everybody. Stayed to the end. Thank you so much for your patience. Everybody on this call, please come back tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern, and we'll have our regular role play call. And I always like to end these calls the same way. Thank you so much for being here. You took the time to be here. We had some excellent points, some excellent stories, role plays. Take one thing you learned on today's call, go out and put it into practice, and come back tomorrow or any Thursday and share the results with us. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week. We will talk to you tomorrow at 1. Take care.